Hello again, and welcome back to the Fear and Beer podcast, where we talk all things horror, horror nights, and just a dash of beer. I'm Nick.
And I'm Seamus.
All right, we are back. I know we were MIA for a little bit after that HHN at home event. Some stuff kind of just work got a little bit crazy. I've been shooting a lot of music videos, and just kind of before we know it, we just kind of lost track of time and
Took a week off.
yeah, I got
Needed
off,
a break.
Yeah, I got off the rails a little bit, but it was my birthday as well, so just kind of had a lot of stuff going on. So we just decided to kind of leave on a high note. Got that big HHN at home event that we'll kind of talk about a little bit. It's been a while, but just kind of take a break, regroup. A lot of stuff has happened. We got a lot of catching up to, so we're going to use this episode as kind of one of those, not wrap-ups, but
Catch up.
around.
Yeah,
I don't know.
A little bit of, what's been happening in the world of HHN and horror and Universal and all that good stuff. And just to kind of say, hey, we didn't go anywhere. We're still here.
Yeah.
Just like Nick said, things kind of caught up to us a little bit and had to take a week off. So we are back. We're moving our schedule around a little bit. So obviously this week was supposed to be our horror Halloween special killer reviews episode. So we're going to push that a week, and we'll talk about that later in the episode. But tonight, we're just going to kind of talk about what's been happening in HHN and what Universal has done over the last couple of weeks. Obviously, the governor has kindly decided that COVID is no longer a thing and that we can just do whatever we want in Florida.
Yeah, it's not. It's fine.
So in Florida, we are COVID averse, apparently. So either way, that means the parks will probably be open later, which I think they have been opening later, right?
Yes, they have. Yeah,
they went
especially
from 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock
9,
now or something like that. But we'll get into it. But yeah, that's what we wanted to do, kind of just wrap up what's been happening in the last couple of weeks and then get back into our regular scheduled programming.
Yeah. And what's cool is when we figured out our schedule, or kind of made a schedule up, quote unquote, we based it off of 4 weeks. And this month we have 5 Fridays in October. So
works for us.
We have like a freebie week that this is kind of what's going to be going on. So before we get into what we're actually going to be talking about in depth, I'm just going to kind of give a quick little rundown. I mean, we're going to catch up on that HHN at home event. We're going to just talk about some podcasts that we've kind of been into and digging lately, HHN oriented. We're going to go from there. We're going to start talking about just what is going on with HHN Junior, HHN Light, Diet HHN, whatever it is, whatever that thing is called. We're going to be talking about what that is.
During the day.
Yeah. And then I'm going to touch on a couple Halloween style event things that you guys out there listening might be interested in. Some cool stuff in the local scene that isn't, your typical scare kind of thing going on. It's not,
like, your other stuff that isn't point of Universal.
Yeah,
obviously Universal's the big guns down here, but there are a lot of local smaller places that have got some stuff going on, and it's the perfect year for them to kind of make a name for themselves because everyone's looking for their fix. And
and there's just 2 things, and we'll probably shout some more stuff out later on into the season once more stuff pops up, and if we visit there, we'll kind of give on-site reviews and stuff. We got a lot. October is obviously, even without HHN this year, I think we're going to be pretty busy, so we'll give you a couple of different spots that we're thinking about checking out, and we'll kind of go from there, and we'll leave you on that note. So before we dive into all of that, I know that was a lot of info, let's talk about the beer that we got tonight.
Yeah, so again, I have this uncanny ability to walk into a liquor store or into my local bottle shop, and I just happen to catch eyes on certain things. And this one's actually kind of near and dear to our hearts because, like we had said before, we're from Massachusetts originally, and we moved to Central Florida in the last few years between the two of us. These guys are called Lord Hobo, and they're based out of Woburn, Massachusetts. They're a local place to where we used to be local. I still kind of consider Mass my home away from home, but Lord Hobo, if you don't know what they are, they're big seller, which they distribute pretty regularly a lot of places. We get it here, and that's why we got this too, I think. So they distribute pretty far. I don't know if it's just East Coast, or if you've got any West Coast listeners. I don't know if they might distribute out your way, but their big one is Boom Sauce. So this one's kind of relevant. It's related to that. It's a play on words. It's called Doom Sauce. and it's got a Reaper on the front of it. And
very cool. I love this color.
Yeah, the artwork kind of caught my eye. It's really simple. It's just a Reaper, but instead of a skull face, it's a hop. So if you're a beer drinker, you know what a hop is.
It's like a wizard.
Yeah, it kind of looks like a wizard a little bit, but he's got the scythe, so he's definitely like that death character. And it's a double black IPA, and they call it their Good Lord series. It's only 7.8%, so for an Imperial, that's relatively low.
Yep.
I've only ever had one other black IPA before, and it's definitely more smoky. There's usually more malts to it. But from what I'm reading on Untappd, which is our trusty social media when it comes to beer drinkers, they label the style as an Imperial/double black IPA. It's a welcomed darkness has fallen upon our flagship double IPA, pouring black as midnight with a hefty tan head, yet conjuring the aromas of fresh citrus layered with the soft tropical fruit and candied orange flavors you know and love in their boom sauce. There appears to be something sinister at work. By summoning the smoothest black malts available to mortal men, we've created a delicate roasted malt backbone with a slightly sweet and remarkably clean finish. From the depths of darkness, the doom sauce emerges. So they're definitely going for that like doomy, like almost like Black Sabbath-y vibe, like the, you know, it's not quite Halloween, but it's definitely it fits the theme, and it's you know, they're going for that dark theming. And these are definitely it's an interesting style because it pours like a porter or pours like a stout, but it's an IPA, so when you drink it, it tastes like an IPA, but it's definitely got a maltier finish to it. The comments I've seen from people about it seem to indicate that it's definitely a lot sweeter than expected, and it's not as bitter as one would expect. So I'm interested to crack the can and try it. But yeah, I think you'll be slightly interested by how it doesn't taste quite how it looks.
Yeah.
If you've ever had a white IPA, which is kind of the opposite of this, which is basically a beer that pours like, I'm sorry, not a white IPA, I'm sorry, white stout, like a white stout. It's kind of the opposite in the sense that when you pour it, it looks like an ale.
Yep.
But it tastes like a stout. It's
funky.
really, really
That's
interesting.
That's weird. I gotta try. I'm gonna find one of those.
So you're gonna have to try this and see what happens.
This one, I'm just from the can alone. Like I know Lord Hobo, I know Boom Sauce. Boom Sauce is one of my top like beers of choice that were local to us. But this logo is sick.
Right?
It's
right?
so cool. I just
figured you'd like this.
I'm a sucker for the color palette too. Like I'm a huge shop with my eyes kind of guy. So let's pour these suckers into my special aged 30 years to perfection 1990 vintage glasses my dad got me for my birthday. I am aged to perfection. Not so much, but
yeah, Nick hit the big 3-0.
Yeah.
He's almost as old as me now.
This is sick.
But you can see how it pours like dark, almost like a dark beer.
But it like settles through.
But if you smell it, it smells like an IPA, like a traditional, like not traditional IPA, but like more of a NEPA, or any IPA, New England IPA. But it's got that citrusy nose to it, much as you would get from like a New England or a fruity IPA.
It looks like,
it looks like a stout.
It looks really thick when I'm pouring it. And as soon as I let up from pouring it, it kind of looks like Coke, like the fuzz, the you know, the foam.
It's definitely got a cola
consistency. Lots of head on this one too. That's good.
Partially
all the
because
flavor.
It's been out of the fridge for a while.
That's all right. It's nothing we haven't been through before.
No, we've never done that before.
We'll let this settle a little bit.
We'll let this settle. Why don't we let these settle, and then if you want to go
into some stuff.
Did you already shout out who won the prizes?
I haven't.
All right, so let's talk about the HHN at home stuff.
Yeah, so HHN at home. I know from right now it seems like it was forever ago, but it's really only
for us it does.
Yeah, a couple of weeks ago. Yeah, we've been just running like crazy, but it was super cool. I was actually off of work that day, so I got to kind of tag along online and just constantly check the new updates and see when stuff drops, and you know, just watch people interact was super cool because you see a lot of the same names pop up on Hard Ice Twitter, and and admittedly so, we are not the biggest Twitter people. I didn't even personally use one.
Yeah, I have a Twitter account that I have 15, like not followers, like I follow 15 people.
Yeah.
And it's all fantasy football related.
Yeah, and I've had a Twitter for a while, and I really don't do much on it besides scroll through, follow stuff, and look at stuff. I don't really interact, and I don't have many like friends on there either. It's just like purely for like garbage social media time, like stupid celebrities or movies or Avengers crap or horror. So we're not the most Twitter savvy. I'm definitely more Instagram-y, Facebook.
I've never understood the appeal of tweeting.
Yeah, no.
Like I get it as far as a news source is concerned when it comes to like getting out news stories, but like I don't know.
It's a headline thing. That's all it is. There's no content to the body.
To me, it was better when it was strictly like the 250 characters and you couldn't really do much else. But now that it's become more of a social media platform, I don't know. I don't understand the point of it, but I get why people use it because it definitely there's an outreach there, and I don't know how well I don't even know if we have a Twitter account
for Fear and Beer. We do.
We do.
So yes, we do have a Fear and Beer.
I don't even manage it.
Yes. So we do have a Twitter page, which I feel like this event was a very Twitter-oriented event because that was where a lot of
I think the
interaction came from.
And again, communities for a lot of things, specifically stuff like this, Twitter is obviously the biggest place for it. Mm-hmm. So like that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So that's how the event worked out really well for our benefit. Like I said, we had such a small following, but I think we got like 50 followers just from that HHN at home event, just from being tagged and putting stuff out. And for us, 50 followers was like a 400% increase in what we had. So we got a lot of, new followers, I think. I think a lot of people are maybe listening to us for the second time now. So it's kind of cool that because of that event, we got our name out, and I'm so glad we decided to barge our way into that party.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a big enough room that they could handle a couple more people.
Yeah,
I mean,
2 more people's not bad.
When I first moved down here, I was trying to do the whole YouTube thing, and it wasn't really working out. And then when you suggested let's start a podcast, I think I was taken back by how fast we've grown just in 6 months. Like,
community's great. I think there's no like cutoff for incoming media. Like, I feel like the HHN people, especially the locals, will just consume as much HHN info or talk or whatever, because if you like something, you like something, and everything is fairly different enough. So again, huge shout out to Horror Night Nightmares for putting on that whole event and kind of letting us jump in on there.
Cool, guys. If you're listening, that was awesome to even let us like put something up. I mean, I wasn't even like sure that we were really going to get anything in. So just the fact that you let us put something up for it, I mean, we're really, really thankful for that. That was really awesome.
It was cool because we dropped that episode right at midnight. We normally do it midnight or like 8 a.m. early so people can listen in the morning, but there was a lot of tweets or a lot of people were contacting it like, starting out my HHN at home with Fear and Beer. It's like, hopefully not so much beer at 8 a.m., but I'm all on board for you. More power to you, sister.
Yeah, no, that's awesome.
But it was really cool. Happy. Yeah, that was actually the most plays we've ever had in one single day. The first day that like we dropped that pod was our highest. So that was cool.
Yeah.
We had that little contest we ran. We dropped. We gave away 2 winners. One winner received a HHN Director's Cup, and I think I paired that with the Friday the 13th and the It Steel box. And the other one was the Jack the Clown icon glass, and that went with Devil's Rejects and House of 1,000 Corpses in Blu-ray.
Right.
And those got mailed out. We got Maxwell Tweets and Vader Prime. They were our winners. So we did just like a random drawing. I got those in the mail. It was like I messaged them and told them that it would be coming in like a week or so because we had a pretty busy week going on. So I'm glad they got them. I usually have a constant battle with the U.S. Postal Service. They're just terrible. I have the worst luck with them. Whenever I go, it's busy. They always lose my stuff. Like,
and we only have like 17 post offices in a 20-mile radius of where we live.
Yeah, so I shoot video, and like a week or 2 ago, I shot a video and I had to mail my client up in Colorado my thumb drive, and I mailed it to them. And 2 days later, they sent me a picture of like the packaging with a hole in it, missing the thumbnail drive. And it was in a bag saying, "We're sorry for the inconvenience." Oh, like, yeah,
that's
no
so
shit.
Much fun.
Let me just do this again.
It's so great.
It's just, and then I can go on. I'm not going to go on tangent about the post office.
But this is not a glowing review of UPS or FedEx or anything like that.
No, just my personal.
Just his own personal experiences with postal service.
Yeah, there's a laundry list.
I give them a little bit of a pass this year just because of the way everything's been going, but
thankfully they did get the packages.
That's good.
And I think they tweeted out, they're like, I heard a huge thud at the door and I saw my package. I was like, yeah, I guess they took the 7 fragile stickers as like a challenge to see if they could smash that glass. But I put some padding in there, some bubble wrap, and
hopefully
the glass
was
wrapped up, and they didn't look like to being shattered or any kind of disarray. So that was a huge plus.
That's good.
So that was our kind of HHN wrap up that whole at-home event. Want to get into these beers now that they're kind of settled, and we'll talk about
now
those?
Now that they've settled, let's just kind of give them a little bit of a taste, and then we'll get into some shout-outs.
Oh, they smell great.
Right? That's wild.
It reminds me a lot of the Boom Sauce, the original Boom Sauce. It tastes really light.
Yeah, you know, it's crazy.
It's smooth. It doesn't...
It's not nearly as smoky as I thought it would be just because of the malt. But they were right about one thing. It's definitely a lot sweeter than I expected. You definitely have a lot of malt in it. It's almost, to me, it's almost like more of an amber when it comes to that. But you still get a lot of that fruity IPA-ness to it.
Yeah, it's definitely... That's funky. It's cool. It's super light. It has a good IPA taste. The black part of it doesn't really, like, chime in at all for me. I don't get any distinct taste from that. It looks very stouty. So it kind of like, from a visual perspective, confuses me.
Well, right, and that's kind of what throws you off a little bit, especially with like this, or like I said before, one of the white stouts, which when you look at it, it throws you off when you drink it because you're like, wait, this is not at all what it looks like.
Nah,
but, I mean,
if my eyes were closed and I took a sip of this, I would expect to see a very coppery...
Yeah, I do think
like a red-colored beer.
It's kind of gotten to the point now where, like, I think certain styles are done just because they can be. I'm not saying this is bad. This is actually pretty good.
Like, oh, look what we can do.
But I don't understand outside of the visual appeal of it is like of a black IPA in the sense that, like, with IPAs, I'm so used to them just being a certain way, and there's nothing wrong with it because I'm glad that things are being changed up a little bit because
they're making like hybrids now. It feels like.
Well, yeah, and some people made the good point the other day. It's like, you know, we've got family members that are also beer drinkers, and they always go into the beer stores and they go, "Beer store, why do you never carry anything other than IPAs? There are other styles," which is true.
They are very out there.
Very IPA heavy everywhere you go. So it's interesting when at least they take traditional styles or different styles and they try something different with that style. So this is only the second black IPA I've had, and I gotta say they're definitely interesting. If you can find a Doom Sauce wherever you are, pick it up. Pick a 4-pack up. You might like it. If not, I mean, try their regular stuff. Their Boom Sauce is really good. But
yeah, give it a go. This thing it's got a good taste. If you like IPAs, you will like this beer. And
yeah, for sure.
If you're not like a stout drinker and you're an IPA drinker, get it. If you pour it out, don't worry. It's not going to taste what it looks like because it's not going to taste that stouty, creamy style because that's what I thought when I poured it out. It's very, very dark. Right. A little bit of carbonation, so it does look like that Coke, like root beer, Dr. Peppery style look. But that's good. I like it.
The only other one I ever had was in Iowa.
Yeah,
at one point. So
we gotta find some beers that are just bad, so we can not bash it, but like I feel like every time we have the beer, it's like it's good beer. I like this beer.
You know what we need to do? We need to do a macro, not even craft, just like a macro. Just get a bunch of fall beers, quote unquote, and just try them on a podcast and be like, "This is terrible.
Is it not like
just not good."
Pumpkin Budweiser yet?
Yeah, try. Well, there probably is.
It's gotta be there.
Just look them up.
Well, maybe we'll sneak that in. Maybe
we'll figure something out. Maybe we can get Kevin roped in on that one.
Yeah, we'll find something. Yeah.
Lord Hobo, Woburn, Massachusetts. Check him out if you can find him.
Cool. So we talked about earlier the HHN at home, and then we kind of I mentioned briefly we're gonna kind of talk about some podcast stuff like that we've been listening to, and just wanted to give a couple shout outs over there. We were listening to Sounds from the Grave over the past week, and they just gave us a glorifying review. It was great.
They just gave us a huge shout out.
No, we
So right back at you guys. We love you guys as much as you love us.
Yeah,
so it's not creepy.
Yeah, it's not
being creepy.
No, I'm sure you'll hear this and you'll understand it. The feeling is mutual.
Yes.
So yeah, they got some good stuff. A lot of their pods, other than like HHN oriented stuff, they do a lot of like true crime stuff.
To me that's what's cool about it. I love the true crime stuff because I listen to a ton of true crime outside of them. So I mean, it's just I eat it up. I eat that stuff up.
I kind of like listen to some of the true crime stuff, and in my head, I automatically am like, how is this a house? How can we make this like an original house, which is like demented, but whatever.
No,
it's just how it is.
It's just how our brains work.
That's how everything is inspired.
Just so you guys know, we may take one of your stories and be like, hey, let's just make a house up out of that.
Yeah.
One.
So not creepy at all. We love you guys right there back. So guys, check out Sounds from the Grave podcast as well. And then also, funny enough, one of the podcasts that I personally listened to before we decided, hey, let's start a Horror Nights podcast. It's almost season time. We can kind of find a way to carry this as we get going. HHN 365, those guys, I think one day I just was searching like are there Halloween Horror Night podcasts? Like, is that a thing? And I searched like Halloween Horror Night podcasts, and they were the first ones to pop up. And I was like, all right, cool, I'm in. Like, let's like go through their back catalog, check out what they're about. So I've been listening to them for a while as well too, and like I tweeted back to them. They shouted us out on, I think it was Podcast Day. It was one of those other, holidays for
and
the internet holiday.
I mean, you kind of got me hooked on them too. I mean, when you showed me the spec maps for the first time, I think it was last year.
Yeah.
I kind of looked them up a little bit. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's really cool to be shouted out by guys like that because like they've been doing this a while and they got a pretty big following. So, you know, if you got veterans of the industry shouting you out, I mean,
yeah, it's cool. I'm glad
doing something right.
I'm just glad that they enjoy our content as much as I know I enjoy theirs as well. So it's really flattering and humbling.
I'm one of those that like I'll listen to the final product every time he drops our podcast, and I'm always cringing a little bit because of my voice, but you know,
that's why I don't listen that much.
I've been told I have a voice for radio, so I guess maybe I don't know.
I think that was supposed to be an insult.
Probably
they say that I have a face for radio.
Right.
So yeah, huge shout out back to 365, the HHN guys. We should try and talk. We should rope them into something. We should try and tag team some kind of.
If any other content creators out there, not just 365, but yeah,
we should try. We'll figure something out.
If you want to do a collab on something, we want to talk about something together. I mean, by all means, we're definitely looking to get like involved in the community. So like,
now that the world is kind of more reopened, I guess
so
there's
what everybody's comfortable with. I mean, if people want to do like a podcast with us or together, or you want to bring us in, want to do vice versa,
we'll figure something out. Maybe we'll do either like a live movie watch or like maybe we could like battle each other with spec maps. We could like come up with our own version of the original spec maps and have people vote on it. Yeah, something. We'll think of something. We'll get in touch with everybody and see who kind of wants to get involved. Right. And we got nothing but time on our hands. We got 30 weeks left until
we got
HHN
a long
30.
time before 2021.
30 until 30. So let's talk about Diet HHN or HHN Junior, HHN Light.
Is that what they're calling it?
I don't know. I just some people I've seen those all kind of thrown around in various.
Basically, the houses during the day.
Yeah, Halloween Horror Days.
Halloween Horror Days, exactly.
So yeah, the houses have been open for 2 weekends now. They sampled them on, I believe it was the 20th and the 21st.
Last couple weekends they've had it open for
past weekend. So they're going to be opening those two houses every day from October 3rd to November 1st. We got...
Is that every single day of the week?
Yeah. So that's why I like... As soon as I saw the dates, I wasn't like dying to rush over. So originally first they were like, oh, we're going to do test trials. And I was like, okay, there's no way they're going to open these houses for 2 days and that's it. 0% chance that happens.
Yeah, it's too much work not to.
Yeah, so I knew it was going to keep coming back. In what capacity, I wasn't sure if they were going to add another house or... I wasn't sure, but I knew that at least those two would be open at some point during the fall for us. And then, lo and behold, they say we're opening it for this weekend, and then we were opening it every day through October. So I was like, all right, like as much as I really want to get over there, it's not horror nights. So I'm not like, ooh, opening night, let's get there with the group. And like, it's during the day. So I'm excited to go check the houses out.
I know that neither of us have gone and done them yet.
And that's my point is we weren't one of the few that rushed over on the Saturday, Sundays. I don't feel like waking up at 6 a.m.
For everyone out there that listens to us that knows kind of like, Universal can get crazy when it's capacity. Mm-hmm. So even with now, like I think
especially the
first
weekends.
2 weekends that like they open the houses, they hit capacity, and even my wife was like, "We want to go over to the Universal," and I'm like, "Not particularly."
By like 9 or 10 a.m., like it was insane. So I respect the people that want to do that, but I'm knowing that it's going to be here in a week or tomorrow or whatever. It's October 3rd, so that. Yeah, it's in a couple days.
And it'd be one of those things where, like, I think you and I can probably just pick a day during the week.
Yeah, we'll go like a Wednesday afternoon or a Tuesday. It's something that we don't have to fight the crowds with. And, for horror nights, I'm all on board with that. That's, like, part of the experience. But when it's, like, just park goers, I don't want to say the magic is lost, but I'm excited to see the houses, but I'm not as excited to go.
I'll definitely say it. To me, like, I know some people are like, oh yeah, they're finally doing horror nights or whatever, and I'm like, to me, it's not the same thing.
It's not. At this point,
I think for the hardcores, it's definitely not, because it's just like you said, it's just you're going into a park, like the theme park, and they happen to have a couple houses open, which is fine. It's great, but I think the crowd is different. I think you get a lot of people that don't typically do horror nights.
Yeah.
Whereas when you have traditional Horror Nights, you've got really just the fans there.
Because you have to buy the specific pass for Horror Nights. So with this, you're getting a split crowd.
And I mean, not to cut you off, but there are less people that come for Horror Nights just for Horror Nights. You know what I'm saying? So like during the day, you just get traditional tourists that come to Universal. Correct. For Universal.
That might not even know what Horror Nights is.
Right, or they do, but they would never fly down here.
Yeah, it's not their thing.
To do Horror Nights. With Horror Nights, you typically get, like I said, more of just the fans. Yeah. So the atmosphere is different. Yeah. I guess is my point. And I don't think there's anything wrong with doing day. I'm glad they opened something. I'm glad they're doing something for this year. Yeah. But yeah, you're right. I don't think that. I think the crowd is definitely a little different. Yeah. Different dynamic, especially now. I mean, who knows how many kids are going?
And the weekends too are just so busy. That's the big thing too. Like.
Exactly. Especially locals. I mean, tons of locals.
They hit capacity, but how much of that capacity was, like we mentioned, the random park goers that were there for, Harry Potter Land versus going there specifically for the houses. So regardless, we have the two houses, The Bride of Frankenstein Lives and Revenge of the Tooth Fairy. I've heard some stuff about it, but I haven't heard a
single thing.
Yeah, I've heard like people just saying simply, this was good, I prefer one over the other. And that's the extent of it. I'm trying to stay away from it. I know there's pictures, and I think there's a walkthrough video at this point. I think there was some sort of media style day.
I'm sure they had a media day. They do it for every year.
So I know personally I'm staying away from all that because I want to not be surprised, but like I like to just have zero expectation for what the insides of the houses look like.
Right.
And then that's when I enjoy going through multiple times.
The only thing I've seen is I was perusing our Instagram, and there was some girl that posted a picture of the cast change for Tooth Fairy. Okay. So I see kind of like what their scare actors look like. Yeah. Other than that, I haven't seen really anything about it. So I'm trying to, like you said, to stay away from too many spoilers because I don't really want to do it and then kind of know what's coming.
No, and that's not as much fun. Like knowing the name and seeing the logo, that's all I need.
Yeah, exactly.
I'll be in regardless. So that's kind of where I stand on that. I think we'll shoot over at some point now that they're going to be opened up next week, and we might drop like maybe a midweek pod or just a quick instant review. Maybe we'll do like a 5 or 10 minute review. It might be crappy quality. We'll probably do it on a phone or something.
If you're not already following our YouTube channel, find us on YouTube. Subscribe to us because who knows, we may just drop a vlog. Us doing it or something like that, because we definitely want to do more on the YouTube page, but right now it's just the podcast episodes. But keep an eye on that too.
So we'll drop maybe like midweek, some random week, a mini episode per se of like a review of that. They also are during the day going to be opening up some of our like HHN foods and our drinks.
Are we going to have like actual like food vendor tents or just like selling them at certain locations?
From what I saw, I think vendor truck.
Okay.
I think I saw that they're going to be doing Twisted Taters. Thank God you guys know exactly how I feel about it.
Listen to our podcast.
Yeah. If you have listened to, especially that last episode when we did, the top 10 things about Horror Nights that we can't wait for next year.
Twisted Taters.
Heart-stopping. High on my list. Give me all the sodium.
I went to the doctors, found out I had high cholesterol. I can't wait to make it worse.
Hell yeah. New record. We're also looking like pizza fries. They got Franken-fried chicken. We got funnel brains. We got...
So not to cut you off again, but are those new? Like I don't remember Franken-fried chicken being a thing last year.
No, and I think because of the Bride of Frankenstein, I think they're theming some items like how we kind of had the Stranger Thing items.
Because funnel brains kind of sounds like funnel cake, but like shaped.
And that's what I'm expecting it to be. I honestly am just expecting funnel cake. Like that's
I'm sure that's what
with
it
like
is.
Maybe strawberry filling on it or something like that to give it that red
ice
look.
Cream or something.
And the stuff is already out, I think, so we're probably either completely right or completely wrong, and we could check for evidence, but I don't really care because it's just funnel cake at a theme park.
Right? Yeah. I mean, it's theme park food, but I mean, again, it's themed. It's just something that you're used to. Yeah. You look forward to. It's that smell, like walking in and smelling those taters. Yeah. You're just like,
I'm just like, Twisted Taters.
My heart's beating far harder already.
That's all I care about. And there is a spirit bar or something like that where they do
like drinks and
specialty cocktails. Again, something that we'll probably jump into. Maybe another like midweek kind of episode. Maybe we'll record like a mini episode on houses and a mini episode on food and a mini episode on drinks all in one day. And then we'll just drop them sporadically throughout October so we can have like double.
We both have really expensive film equipment now that we can just bring with us and start filming some stuff.
So we can just drop
some use out of that.
So that way October will probably be full of content. That's kind of why we had those last couple weeks off, because we knew it was going to be pretty much heavy lifting for October.
So again, I mean, I would definitely, if you haven't already, subscribe to our YouTube channel, because
we'll drop some video content, a lot of
stuff other stuff that isn't podcast related.
Yeah,
on the YouTube channel.
Yep. And then my biggest question now is, you think we're gonna keep these two houses?
Gonna ask you the same question.
Yeah. So
this makes me wonder if they'll bother. My thought is that these two were released because they were the closest to being done.
Yeah.
That or at least they were done.
Or done, yeah.
I think that these two are easy because they're not IP.
Correct.
One is Universal IP, one is just their own
straight up
thing.
Original, yep.
So they didn't have to worry about retaining rights for them or anything like that. Do we see them next year? I don't think so. I think because they released them this year, I think because we get to see them this year, I think they're going to have a couple new things to replace whatever they don't have.
They'll shut them down and then redo.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. What do you think? Do you think you're going to see either of these? I mean, you might see a Universal Monster again next year, but maybe not Brides.
Yeah, so I'm not sure. My original thought is I think they just might run them all the way through and keep them as like the first two announced houses, but it seems so lackluster for the 30th, because once we hit next year, that's HHN 30, are we going to be really wowed with an announcement of 8 houses? Because 2 have already been announced.
Right, and I don't. That's why I don't think so. I think these two. I think the only reason they even did this is because A, they didn't want people to feel like they weren't doing anything for it.
Yep.
And 2, they were the 2 closest to being finished. And because of that, they're like, let's just drop these 2 and let people come do them during the day.
I think it shows. I think they were done. I think most houses are done at this point still too. I think overall they were like 90.
You're probably right. I mean, I'm probably sure that most of them are pretty much done, but I think just because these 2 were, like I said before, they're not IP.
Yeah, and I think it was their location too.
Probably
no tents.
Probably because remember, during the day they can't necessarily open up parking lots because you gotta have places for people to park when they work and that sort of thing.
Yeah,
because a lot of these houses are in backstage areas,
yep.
So like you have to like take up a lot of the employee parking. That's why they do this at night after the park closes, because it frees up a lot of space.
Easier transition.
Right. So wherever they were planning on setting these 2 houses up probably had something to do with it. I don't think you'll see these 2 next year again. I don't think they'll do that. They know that they're special enough that they shouldn't have to do that, and their fans wouldn't expect it. I mean, unless we get in there and like we're so blown away by Tooth Fairy or something, you want to see that again.
Yeah,
but I doubt it.
And I just think the financial aspect is the only thing that's really holding it up. Would Universal love to dump these 2 houses and get completely 2 new ones? Yes. Are they financially able to? I'm not sure. I mean, they should be, but like, I think it's going to come down to is like how much of this like HHN merch can they wheel and deal during this, you know what I mean? Well, like during the year.
About that, and we talked about this a couple episodes ago, the merch is going to be enough to carry them through, even if they don't make as much as they did last year, obviously not having an event.
Yeah.
But
they'll be fine.
This is merch because obviously Beetlejuice isn't one of the houses.
Yeah, so they announced it.
My thought is Beetlejuice will end up being a house next year.
Correct. I think so too. I don't think they're going to lose rights to houses. And
who knows how those rights work? I mean, like I said, Beetlejuice. It might just be one of those things to like, hey, give us $100,000 check and we'll give you Beetlejuice. And not even that much.
Yeah,
it could be $50,000 check.
Yeah, we get kickbacks from it or whatever.
Right, and I think you made all that merchandise. Why would you then not do it? You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can't abandon the ship at that point.
I mean, they're gonna sell a lot of merch throughout the end of this year into next year, and then my guess is that they'll just resell a lot of the same merch next year because it's still gonna be like the big anniversary event, just 1 year removed.
Yep.
Maybe they'll make more universary because I still haven't gotten any of the anniversary shirts yet, and I still have to do that. I got a couple of them, but
I think they'll pump out new stuff. I think they're gonna try and dump as much as they can now, so it doesn't sit on the shelf, so to speak. It's not like it's gonna go bad or expire like food, but exactly. I think they'll want something fresh. I don't think they want to open up HHN 30 with the same stuff people have seen for a whole year.
No, and I don't think they will, but I think that you'll be able to get that stuff as well next year. So I don't think
I think they'll include it.
They're less concerned about that than anything else.
Yeah, I think it'll be there as well.
And
but
to be totally fair to them, I mean, they were only closed for a couple months.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the amount of money that they quote unquote lost for the parks being closed was pretty well offset because of the fact that like people were still paying for their annual passes.
Yeah.
Obviously we got 3 months free, so which is nice. It's like I'm not paying for annual passes now until December, so that's nice. But I don't think that they lost a whole lot. So the idea of money, I think, is less concerning. It's more so just how much do they want to rethink going into next year. So these two, again, to answer your question a third time, I don't think that we're going to see either of these two next year, and I don't think it should be. I think as a fan, I think most people would agree with me.
I want all fresh.
Give me. I mean, I don't care if 8 of them are the same from this year. Like if you bring,
but we didn't know that. You know, and we haven't walked through them, so
exactly.
I'm fine. Who knows? If these two houses weren't open, then I'd be like, cool, yeah, next year. But if we're gonna walk through them in a couple weeks, you know, then it just kind of puts, I don't want to say like a shadow over HHN 30, but it's like a little less exciting because I've already seen some of it.
No, right, exactly. That's why I think maybe that means just, or maybe they're comfortable enough doing it because they're like, we've got 2 other great ideas that we dropped, we cut because of these 2. So we'll just bring 2 different, either in-house ideas or other IPs.
Come on,
my guess is that we will see Candyman now.
Yeah, I mean, it would make sense.
The movie got pushed till next year, I think, right?
I believe so as well.
Yeah, I know it got pushed. I think it got pushed completely out of this year. A lot of movies are getting pushed out of this year, and that's a whole different discussion altogether. I mean, pray to God that the theaters make it because I'm a movie theater guy, and I would be devastated if they closed. But I think you'll probably see a Candyman house.
Yeah, I mean, if they dump these 2, then I could see them maybe doing the Candyman because that is bumped until next year, and then maybe that Halloween Kills, which is coming out next October. Because that was supposed to come out this year.
Michael's a big draw. I mean, especially if you get people saying, I'm not sure I want to go this year because you're still kind of close to the COVID stuff. But I think if they have like a Michael Myers house, and I still think that I think he kind of would take the place of what Texas was going to be.
Yeah.
Just because I think Texas was kind of a throwaway or throw-in. But who knows? I mean, they could go and rethink all of the houses again. I doubt it, but you never know. I mean, maybe they'll just say, let's just start fresh.
Maybe, if there was one that maybe wasn't as finished as the others, they're like, I
mean, I think you'll definitely still see the icons. You'll still see Cary, Ohio, but maybe, who knows? Maybe all the IPs will change.
Yeah, something could shift around.
Because remember, I mean, they've got the new season of
Stranger Things now, too.
Stranger Things coming out. The Bly Manor's coming out.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you're obviously not going to have Haunting of Hill House. You're going to have Haunting of Bly Manor, which may change it. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? We'll see. I think those... So that's kind of... That whole series, we could do kind of something on that when it comes out. It comes out the 9th, I think, of October.
An episode on it, but yeah.
But that is... I think it's kind of in that similar American Horror style.
Same actors,
but it's...
story.
Yeah, completely new story, completely new characters, but the same actors. So it kind of gets a little...
Is this based off a book, too? I don't know. I knew
I'm not
Hill
sure.
House was, but...
Yeah. I would assume so.
I'll have to look that up. I've never heard of Bly Manor before.
No. So I would think that they are continuing off of maybe the same book series.
I'm sure. I'll have to look it up.
But maybe the Haunting of Hill House was like a one hit.
Well, it was. Shirley Jackson wrote that, but I'll have to look up the Bly Manor. I mean, I'm not a Shirley Jackson expert, so maybe she did write another one. But
and it wouldn't surprise me if Netflix had a hit off of a book series and they tried to drain it.
Yeah, and I'm sure one of our listeners is screaming at her computer right now, going, "It was written by so and so. And how do you not know this?"
All right. So upcoming events that are horror themed that I'm super excited for. So we'll talk about one. We just kind of hit on some movie oriented stuff, but we are both huge movie nerds, not just like movies in general, but like movie theaters. That's like just the bread and butter. I love going to the local theaters, whether it's an AMC or a Cinemark or a small one-run theater.
Right. And the thing is, you're right. What we just said right there. There's definitely a difference between going to a megaplex like AMC, and going to like a small run single theater, like Strand style.
Correct.
And I think that's what you're going to get into is kind of like that difference there.
Yeah, and I like either or. However, obviously, I like going to the like smaller local like classic theaters.
Yeah, well,
you feel better because it's a small business, it's a local business, so I feel better about giving them my money because they're more like me and you versus even if you're a manager at an AMC, it's not yours. You're not getting money for when I go and spend money for popcorn and stuff
AMC
like that.
Alone, I mean, I was watching something, this is to get off tangent, but AMC, I mean, theaters themselves don't make a ton of money off movies. Mm-mm. They make maybe $40,000 off a big summer blockbuster. It's all concession. It's all concession based. That's why your concessions are so expensive and your movie tickets are so expensive because they got to make a markup on it. So, you're right. So there's definitely a different experience. Like if I'm going to watch a big Marvel movie, I'm gonna go see that in IMAX
yep.
or
the Dolby Theater.
Dolby.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna go to an AMC or an Epic or something along those lines. But you're right. When it comes to like the smaller theaters, we come from Massachusetts. Our town we both kind of grew up in. One of the oldest Strand theaters in the world. So like we love that small town aspect, single seat theater where you get service, like actual food service.
Yeah, they cook great stuff. So one of the spots I actually found when I first moved down was I was looking for movie theaters and stuff like that, and I stumbled upon the Enzian Theater. So if you are local to Orlando, check them out. They're up in Maitland. If you're indirectly in Orlando, I'm sort of over by SeaWorld area.
Yeah.
It takes me about 30 to 35 minutes to get up north over in that area. But check it out. They every year do a really cool like Halloween horror style movie month where they just string out these crazy classic movies, or like they do a couple like generic classic-y movies, but then they pull some really wild cards out there.
They really do.
Like last year, we mentioned the Enzian before, but I wanted to shout him out specifically again at the beginning of October. So for anybody that's interested, that listens, that get your tickets for some of these showings early.
Yeah, because they'll sell out.
They sell out very quick, and there are tickets available now, especially if you buy them a couple of weeks in advance. But last year I saw Nightmare on Elm Street 2. I saw Chopping Mall.
Yes, we did.
And that might have been it. But I've already purchased 4 different events already for this upcoming season.
Even outside of horror, they do a ton of classic weeks. Like they did a Spike Lee week.
Yeah, they did the Universal
Stanley Kubrick week. So.
They've done a lot of cool stuff. They did a Christopher Nolan week. Just check them out just for in general. They're really cool. They have their own little like restaurant in there. Well, they have a bar at the outside called the Eden Bar. Mm-hmm. It's just it's a beautiful location. So check them out. They got for the month of October, just to spitball a couple different names out there for you. They're playing Mars Attacks.
Yes.
They're playing The Blob.
Yes.
They're playing The Thing.
Great.
Nightmare on Elm Street 3.
Eh.
Blood Feast.
Awesome.
Puppet Master 2.
Even better.
Deep Red.
Really good movie.
And there's still some that I haven't listed. So they play them. There's like Tuesday night showings. There's Saturday night showings. There's some afternoon showings.
Yeah, they're kind of all over the place. It's not like a traditional theater where you have like 8 different showings of the same movie, but like you might get one that's 9:30, one that's midnight, one that's 11 o'clock in the morning.
And they do specific specialty cocktail drinks for each movie, and they're themed around the movie. So they like whether they look like it's from the movie or just a name. But it's just really cool. I'm a sucker for stuff like that. It just ties in over.
I think it's cool.
But
we went to Chopping Mall last year together.
It was awesome.
Which was awesome.
It's just a good place, good people. So check them out on like Facebook or Instagram. Find their schedule, and if any of these interest you, purchase your ticket in advance because you won't get it.
You won't get them.
No, and just a word from the wise: when you are going there for the movies, it is like a first come first serve, and there are memberships there. I am a member. Members can reserve tables in advance inside, so it's not like your typical movie theater where it's like movie theater seating. It's like tables and chairs. There's some couches and stuff like that. It's a really cool setup. However, members can reserve tables, so I would suggest going there early, and then a line does form like 10 or 15 minutes or whatever before the doors open. Try to be in the front of the line, not in front of me, but get towards the front of the line. If I see you there and you're like, hey, you told us about this, I'm like, hey, we're switching spots. But get there early so that way when you get in, you can at least pick a good spot. Not that there's like a bad spot, but there's just a lot of cool little funky locations that just make sure you get in on time. So go early, grab a couple drinks at the Eden Bar, tip your bartenders, tip your servers, and enjoy yourself. One more thing that we kind of caught wind of is Orlando Forum of Fear.
Yes.
So it's a little bit of a different thing.
So the Orlando Forum, which is an event center in Orlando.
When I was looking it up, like when I first kind of got into this, I was so confused about like, I don't know what the Orlando Forum is. Like,
well, they followed us on Instagram, so I kind of looked into them a little bit. I'm like, what's the Orlando Forum? So it's an event center. The Orlando Forum of Fear is basically a Halloween event that they're hosting in the event center.
And I heard like when they said like, or not when they said, but when I read Orlando Forum, I don't know why, but like, it just sounds like a news outlet.
Well, because forums typically, you think of online forums.
Exactly. So I was like, how are they transforming a newspaper into like, I just don't get it. So I had to obviously keep digging my way into like
This
what.
form's just another word for like concert hall or that sort of event place.
So they actually open tonight, which is Thursday, October 1st.
Yeah.
So when you listen to it on October 2nd, Friday, it would have been open the previous night. But it's open Tuesdays to Sunday, 6 p.m. to 2 a.m., and it's over on iDrive. And this is actually brought to you from Patrick Braillard and Kim Grommel, I don't know.
It looks like Grommel.
Yeah. Sorry if we misspelled.
I don't mean to butcher your name.
I have a terrible last name as well.
Readers.
I'm always used to people butchering my last name, so I understand.
Patrick worked for HHN, did he not?
I believe they both did.
They both did. Okay.
They were both kind of masterminds in some aspect behind scenes, whether they were developing stories, developing houses, and stuff like that. So what the Orlando Forum of Fear is, or what I got out of it, is there's about 20 characters, and there's 480 feet of what they describe as like winding terror. So I guess throughout the season, they're going to switch the walk up. It's going to almost evolve. So you're going to start out in the Tunnel of the Damned, and then that's going to switch over to, whether it's like a couple weeks in or a week and a half, it's going to switch to City Overtaken, and then it's going to finally conclude with what they call as Apocalypse. So what I don't know is if the whole, like if it's like 480 feet, do we get like 120 feet here, 150 feet here, then and they only open like a section of it
at
a time?
I think what they're just saying is that it's just a 480 foot winding maze.
So, but like I'm curious, like when they switch, like are they switching all 480 feet three times?
That's what it sounds like.
Or are they like, do they have the whole thing done and they're just going to kind of unveil a piece of it?
No, it says throughout the season the House of Walk will change from
so maybe,
tunnel.
So maybe they just have a way to kind of convert it quickly, like a flip.
I wonder if it's just going to kind of shift. And my guess is maybe it's just like the theming kind of stays the same, but they kind of change out what the scare actors look like. The
storyline will kind of advance a little bit.
Because it kind of sounds like it starts kind of like Tunnel of the Damned to City Overtaken. So obviously something's coming out of the tunnels onto the city, and then they create an apocalypse or something like that. But who knows? Yeah, sounds really cool.
Yeah, so
I'm always down for different types of horror things. So.
Yeah, you can buy, I think, like single day passes, season passes. I'm not sure how often I will go, so I'll probably just buy like a single day pass for each time we visit. Maybe every time they switch it up. But you should go online, check them out, and I think you have to reserve your spot as well. So when you purchase your ticket, you're purchasing it for a specific day. So that way, kind of, social distance wise, it'll space it out a little bit.
Yeah, there's also another one that I've heard on the radio, I think. I don't know what it's called exactly, but there's going to be a drive-through haunted house down here as well in Orlando.
Yeah. The Haunted Road.
Haunted Road, something like that. So there may be more than one. I don't know.
Yeah, I think when like HHN first got announced that it was not happening, it kind of got a lot of people scrambling, like, we got to do this, and this, and we will, I guess, be the judge and see how everything turns out. I mean,
I'm not. It'll be interesting. It's almost like your own. It's almost like your own haunted hayride, I guess, in a way. Because you're driving your own car through it. But, I don't know. It's interesting. I mean, I'm definitely down to, since I'm not spending money on a freaking Fear Pass this year, I guess I could spend money on some other stuff.
My budget is still open for a couple different things, so we can kind of, again, like we talked about with the houses and the HHN food and drinks, create maybe a mini episode or something like that, kind of reviewing one or more of these other various haunted attractions that we're going to be getting here in Orlando for the year. I think that about wraps it up for what we had on the schedule. It has been a while. What have you gotten yourself into for horror movies as of late? Because I had a couple like random ones that I've been.
So, to be honest with you, I haven't really watched anything super new. There was one I watched a couple weeks ago, maybe almost a month ago now. It's on Netflix, I think, still. It's called like The Monster or something like that. I think it might just be The Monster. Mm-hmm. Either way, it's about this mother and her daughter. They're estranged. They don't get along very well. They get stranded in just a random place in the woods in their car, and there's this monster that's terrorizing them. It's a really, really basic movie. There's nothing wild necessarily about the premise, and the acting is so-so, but the monster design is really cool. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those movies where like you don't get to see the monster a ton, but it's unsettling when you do get to see it. So it's pretty interesting. I think it's called The Monster. Other than that, really, as far as new horror movies or anything, like I watched Invisible Man, actually. Have you not seen that one before? I had not seen it yet.
Okay.
So I finally watched it. we can always talk about this one on a full episode because there's probably a lot of thoughts on it. Really quick, I liked it. I thought Elizabeth Moss was amazing in it, and I love her as an actress. I think she's unbelievable in anything she's in. But the premise, I was kind of taken away. I mean, the problem I have with certain movies, specifically like that one, is the leaps in logic that it makes between certain things. So like, when she finds the, I don't want to get into it because it's gonna spoil things. But I'll just say this: there are certain parts about it that I'm like, how wait, what? Like, how does they not know, or how did they, Otherwise, it was a decent movie. I wouldn't say it's Lee Winnell's best film, but
no, I really liked it as well.
But I thought it was a cool take on the story.
Yeah,
I'm glad it wasn't a straight remake.
Yeah, because in this day and age,
that's all whatever is, just straight remakes.
And those classics just aren't. Not to say they don't hold. The old ones are great and they hold up.
No, they're good for what they are.
But you can't redo. If you do that same thing now,
it wouldn't make any sense.
It's such a waste of like video because we have so many different mechanics and special effects and all kinds of stuff that at our disposal. If we're choosing not to use it, then that's just
no. So I'm glad they kind of went a different way with it. So yeah, no, I liked it. I just don't think it was like there were parts about it where I'm like, I don't quite get it.
And the story had its holes.
When the guy's daughter gets like punched in the head. And then like Elizabeth Moss character is like clearly 5 feet away from her, and she's acting like, "Oh, you hit me!" Oh.
Yeah, it's like
it wasn't. It clearly wasn't her.
Yeah. We were both here. It was not me.
There are just certain things about that. Yeah. Like I was like, okay,
maybe
fine,
not so much.
Yeah, it was pretty good. And then other than that, I mean, it wasn't horror related, but I'm a huge comic book nerd, and I watched The Watchmen on HBO. Finally,
I want to see
really good.
I want to watch that because I don't have HBO. Good. I'm a huge Watchmen. I have Watchmen tattoo. My whole leg is Watchmen. Yeah. Like, absolutely.
I will say this for anyone that hasn't watched it yet: they are going to cover things that were specific to the comic book, not the movie.
Yep.
So you might get thrown off a little bit and go, "Wait, when did that happen?" Because in the movie, certain things don't happen that happen in the book. Even when the movie came out, it was a lot of things where it's like, if you're not already a fan of the material, you're not really going to get some of the stuff. But otherwise, it's still a really good show.
Yeah, and that's why I really liked the movie, because the movie was like shot for shot.
It was almost shot for
shot. To the graphic novel.
Things that were
there was no giant squid as the main villain.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. So that's referenced in the show.
Gotcha. Yeah. So
but
people won't be like,
it doesn't make any sense to anybody that didn't read the graphic novel.
Like, there was no squid.
Right.
So. Yeah, I got into a couple things. I watched The Open House it was like a Netflix movie. It was with the kid from 13 Reasons Why.
Oh, really? I don't think I watched that.
Yeah, it was.
I'll have to check it out.
You don't have to.
No, not good?
No, it was just... So what it was is like this kid and his mom go to this house like in the sticks, pretty much. Yeah. And it was like... I honestly, it was a pretty forgettable movie. I think it was like the mother's sister or something like that passed away, and they had to sell the house. And in the beginning of the movie, the kid, spoilers, whatever. In the beginning of the movie, the kid's dad dies as well, and the mom and dad were already kind of on the fritz. Mm-hmm. So they're in obviously emotional conditions, and they're at the house and they're trying to prep the house and sell it. And there's like a stalker killer that is coming to the open house. So it was just kind of, it fell flat a lot. It just wasn't, it never really scared me. The acting was meh, and it was just a pretty overall not great movie. But I'm a sucker for like shitty movies, like shitty like TV series, like 13 Reasons Why. Well, I love that. So I was like, Clay's in it. I'll give it a shot.
There's a difference between like just shitty stuff and schlocky stuff.
Yeah.
So if there's not a lot of heart put into it, you can tell, and you're kind of like, not really into this.
It was definitely very indie-ish. It was like,
we
could have made that movie. I mean, might be selling those people short a little bit because they're obviously talented enough to make a feature length with a good condition. But it was a very simple story.
I have come across that movie a couple of times. I just haven't really watched it.
It was okay. And then I just watched, not that it's essentially horror, but I watched I think it's called like Murder Next Door. It's the new Netflix like documentary about this killing. No. It falls in line with all the murder documentaries, Making a Murderer.
What's it mean? Like, I watch all that.
It just came out today. So. And again, it's not even a series. This one was an hour and 20 minutes long, and it was good. However, it wasn't. And it sounds bad, but like, I'm used to all the like crazy twists and turns.
There's not a lot of
it was fairly straight. It was a fairly like one day affair. It was like They show up. They find out what's going on.
This is the one about Chris Watts.
Yes,
right?
yes,
Kills
the
his
Watts.
wife and kid.
Yeah.
Kids.
Yes.
Yeah.
So thankfully, I didn't know much about it, but it was a very straightforward story.
Yeah. So I kind of know that whole story already. So maybe
and you can tell they tried to create some question marks.
Yeah, but they literally, the Nervious discovered that she was acting like she wasn't
there. Or she was just gone, and then
he shows up and acts like no big deal. And then the police interview him for like 6 hours, and he gives it all up.
Correct.
So it's
it was all one day.
Yeah, it's not anything crazy. It's not like watching Tiger King. You're like,
no,
what the fuck is this going?
Well, and like Making a Murderer, or like
exactly.
Those long ones where you're like, they did it.
Or
the
staircase.
Or the staircase.
Fucking, you haven't caught that owl yet.
The goddamn owl. I'm trying to think of what the other one was. Like, American... God, it was like about the guy that like walked a bomb into the bank. He had like a
Evil Genius.
Evil Genius.
That was pretty good.
Amazing.
Or even the more recent one that I just watched, Don't Fuck with Cats. Like
that one
threw me for such a loop.
That one is like, I tried to make somebody watch it, and then I just felt bad because like I can watch like super fucked up stuff. Like it's terrible.
It's a hard one to get through.
That one was the hardest thing that I've had to get through.
I don't like animal shit.
Yeah.
But like the way it starts, I didn't know it was real until like 2 episodes in. Then I'm like, this can't be real.
Yeah.
But it goes all over the place.
It's absolutely insane. And I tried to make one person watch it, and I just felt bad. And I was like, all right, we can change this because like I know you're not. I was like, I swear I'm not into watching animal cruelty.
Yeah,
but
neither
like
am I.
The documentary was super interesting.
So weird.
The people, it was for the people. That's like why Tiger King. So these different people, I just have these crazy personas where it's like, okay, like now I'm hooked. And then I just watched the typical Freddy versus Jason.
Oh, did you?
And I watched the whole. I watched the entire Scream series because of all like the news that's been coming out. They're going to be doing Scream 5.
Oh, are
so
they?
People have been signing back on. So like Courtney Cox is back on, David Arquette's back on, Nev Campbell is back on. Speaking of, I always feel bad for his name, but the kid that plays Clay from 13 Reasons Why, the one that I was in Open House, he is in Scream 5.
Oh, is he?
So did
they say he was directing it?
They have, but I don't remember off the top of my head. I think it's like 2 people. I think it's like a brother combo.
Is Blumhouse producing it? Because he's usually the one that does a lot of these weird...
I don't know, and it was weird because I feel like they were doing... Scream 5 when Wes Craven was like, because I thought when they did 4, the original plan was to do another trilogy.
Yeah, maybe.
And then he passed away.
I don't know. Yeah, I know that he didn't want to do 4, but they made him do it. So.
Yeah, so we'll see. I mean, it's pretty cool that it's like the originals from that first one, and funny enough too, to tie in another Netflix series. I didn't know that the theme song from Peaky Blinders was like the intro song for Scream.
Well, I don't know that
in
either.
like Scream like 1, 2, and 3. It's a different version of the song, but it's the Red Right Hand or whatever it's called. It's Red Right Hand by Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds.
Oh, I think I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, like it's a very
red
subtle,
right
but it's like
hand,
in a dusty black coat with the red right.
Okay, I know what you're talking about now. Yeah,
but I hadn't watched Scream in a while, and I had just watched Peaky Blinders as well, so I was like, oh, like there it is. Like, how did this pop up?
Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah, so I think that about wraps it up.
Yeah,
we talked earlier about how our schedule shifted, obviously, with the month being weird with 5.
Right, so this was supposed to be the killer reviews
our quote-unquote
for Halloween.
first of the month, but we have 4 more weeks in October. So jumping back onto the schedule, next week we're going to be bringing you a killer reviews. And keep an eye on our Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. We're going to be dropping some hints on what movie we are going to be doing probably Monday, Tuesday or so. So we'll kind of leave some breadcrumbs, and we'll see if you guys can catch on to what we're dropping for you.
Let's see if we can get Kevin roped into this one again.
Yeah, well, we'll try something out. We'll work something. We always like to have our Kevin reviews, so that way we can get a bunch of beers too.
Right, exactly. Just more excuse to drink beer.
In the movie we have in mind, I think Kevin would enjoy as well.
Think so too.
I think he'd pull a lot of like weird facts out from that one. So we're looking forward to the future. We're glad to be back. And if our podcast sounds a little bit better, it's also because my girlfriend got me a new microphone, and we're using another new microphone over on Seamus's end as well. So
hopefully it won't be as
hopefully the quality is just that much better. But until then, my name is Nick.
And I'm Seamus.
Happy haunts. And if you heard that little noise, that was Opie. He was also chiming in. Happy haunts. See you guys. And again, I would just like to thank Vampire Stepdad for letting us use his music for our intro and outro music. So if you would, just go check him out, Spotify, Facebook. Again, that is Vampire Stepdad.